Today we are gonna build a screen manager. For example, when you're in the main menu and click play, you will go into a gameplay screen. So it's like a state manager. If you are using Visual Studio Code, go into the extensions and install Heaps extension pack. This pack will install all the other extensions we need. Let's clear this and start from scratch. When the Heaps project gets built, it will always look for a main class and a main function. And this function will be called first when the game runs. So let's write that out. Class main, and it will have static function named main. To test this out, let's console log something. We use trace in Heaps to print something to the console. So let's print hello world. It's a classic. In the last episode, I compiled the project with F5. But F5 has some bugs for me. So I want to do something different today. And I'm gonna use that from now on. So open up a terminal. The path should be same as your project's path. So type hex compile.hxml. This file is reference to that file. So we are compiling by the help of this file. Press enter and I get my hashlink binaries. To run these binaries, I type hl.main.hl and I see my hello world right here. But I can combine these two and save some time. So after that, I can chain them together like this. I press enter and same result. So when I try to run the game again, I just press up and enter. Very good. Let's get into some Heaps stuff. Heaps divides itself in different packages. For example, we have H2D for 2D stuff, we have H3D for 3D stuff, and we have HXD for more general stuff. So, to create a window, we have to create an instance of HXD app. New HXD app. And when we run this, we will get a window. Cool. Our screen manager will be named game. Let's create that one. And this will extend hxd.app. So our game class will be a wrapper class on top of hxd.app. Very nice. HXD app has some useful functions to override. Like first one is init. It's an initialization function. It's more like a main. It will get called once and that's it. So we don't need a super call here because it's empty in HXD app anyways. Like it's empty here. So we have update. And update is our game loop. For example, if you have 60 FPS, this update function will be called 60 times per second. And this dt argument here is the delta time. It's the time between two frames. Let's test this by logging data time into the console, okay? Let's trace dt. Now, let's not forget to change this here to our game. Run. Okay, as we see, we are printing the delta time and it's 60 FPS right now. Let's make our game class singleton. So our game class will be globally accessible and it can only be initialized once. Let's get into the game. And so I am creating a constructor now, but our constructor will be private. We have our private constructor. No one can call this function but this game class. So let's not forget the super, because HXT app needs to have a constructor too. So it will call that. Okay, no one can initiate this game class like in here. So to change that, we will create an instance variable here. It will be public, it will be static, and let's name this instance, and this will be a type game, which means us. So hux gives some functionality to variables in classes actually, and it is called properties. So you can insert some properties to variables. So this first one will be get and the second one will be set. So first one is for reading and second one is for setting this variable. I will leave this as get, and so this instance will be accessible publicly, right? But on the set part, I'm not gonna let anyone reset this variable, right? So I'm gonna just type null here and let's initiate this in a getter. So if you type get here, you need to have a function like so. Private static function, and the function should be start with get and the name of the variable. Get instance. This will return a game, and in here let's say if instance is null, then we are assigning a new game to that instance, right? We are assigning a new game to that instance, but no one can. So we still need to return a game here. So let's return that instance. If we initiated the instance already, we are not gonna create a new game, but we will simply return the instance. Our singleton game is ready. Instead of new game here, let's call game.instance. When we call game.instance here, it's the start of the program, right? There is nothing yet. So it will first check if this is null. And yes, it is null because we didn't initiate it yet. So it will initiate a game on that instance and return that instance. By calling this here, we will have a window same as before. And we have our window again. Now we can go into the changing screen part. First, let's delete this. We don't need that. We don't need this X. Okay. We don't need this. Cool. So there's a function on HXT app. It's called set scene. It lets you change the scene. And there's a 2D scene and 3D scene in HXT app. As you see here, there's a 2D scene and there's a 3D scene. I don't want that default scene. I want my scene, my screens to run on the HXT app, right? So first of all, let me create a folder here called screens. I will call them screens so it will be different. I'm gonna create a screen base class here. So this screen class will inherit from h2d.scene. It's basically a wrapper on the h2d scene, right? Let's create a variable here, private var screen, and it will be screen, of course. It will import the screen automatically in here. When I say new screen, it will accept this screen class as h2d scene, because they are mostly the same thing, right? This screen class is inheriting from that h2d scene, so I can use this screen as a hxd scene. Very cool. In this game class, let's write a function called setScreen, because I don't want this setScene function. I want my function, my setScreen function, so I can call init on this. Let's write that, and let's add an argument called screen. This will be type screen. I will call setScene on that. We are changing the scene. After that, I'm gonna set this dot screen, which means this here. So I will set this dot screen. Every time I change the screen, this variable will be updated. And let's call init function on that screen. But it gives us error saying that there is no init function on screen, right? So let's write it one. Public function init. And it will just be an empty function. We have our setScreen function. When we call this setScreen, we pass the screen argument. It will set the scene, and it will actually dispose the previous screen. So if you have, for example, you have buttons on main menu, right? So when you press play and go into gameplay, those buttons will get disposed. So it's very useful to call this. And then we update our screen variable and we call init on that screen. Let's call an update function on that as well. So we have our updated screen here, right? We have our screen. And I can call just update and pass the data time as well to that function. We have no update. Let's copy that and create a empty function here. Our screen has init, our screen has update, and our screen has all the things that h2d scene has as well. Very nice. Let's have two different screens. Let's have menu, class menu extends from screen. So this menu class will inherit from screen class, and this screen class will inherit from the scene class, right? So it's like a chain. Okay, let's overwrite the init. We don't need to call super because look, they are empty. Let's overwrite the update. We don't need super. So let's trace menu update here. Let's trace menu init here. Copy this And let's make another screen called gameplay.hx. Change menu to gameplay. And let's test this out. So in my game init function, I will start the project, the game, with menu. So set screen, and I will call new menu. But we have to import that like this. So let's screens.menu. When our game starts, we will start with the menu screen here. So we will see menu init and we will see menu updates. Let's test it. Start the game. Close it. And we see here that we started with menu init and we kept going with menu update. Very nice. So let's change to a different screen from this screen. I told you that dt is the time between two frames. So if I add this dt to some variable, I can use that as a timer. So let's create a timer here. That will be a float because dt is a float. And add that dt delta time to a timer. So I can use that timer like so. If that timer reaches 2, which means 2 seconds, so we will go into a gameplay screen. And you know how will we call that set screen function, right? We just made a singleton, so I can just do this game.instance.set screen, and I can say new gameplay. Give me a new gameplay. We hope to see a menu init and bunch of menu update, and 2 seconds later we will go into a gameplay state. So menu update and gameplay. Let's check it. And we write bunch of menu update, and here we go into a gameplay and we kept calling gameplay. One more thing to show that this menu is a H2D scene, right? So H2D scene has a dispose function. Let's override that as well. Dispose. So I will keep the super here because all the objects in the H2D scene should be disposable. After disposing that things, I can dispose by things here. For example, if I created something in menu that is disposable, I can dispose that right here, like so, timer.dispose. But we don't need to dispose the timer. So let's just test this with trace menu dispose and copy that and add this to a gameplay as well. Gameplay dispose. Let's run this one once more. We have our menu and we have our gameplay. Let's close the project. Check if we disposed. Okay, yes. We updated the menu, and after 2 seconds later, we disposed the menu. We initialized the gameplay and we kept calling gameplay update. We have a functioning screen system here. See you in the next episode where we will be working on animations.